Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be thinking through the top 10 half-dollar errors worth over $1,000. Now, this has been a super interesting series for me to kind of think through some of the craziest coins that have ever been produced, and there are a ton of them. But what we're going to be talking about today are these half-dollars. These are more misproductions at the mint. I think that it's an undercovered area of numismatics that's really interesting because we have a super high quality control, but I guess when you're striking millions and millions, really hundreds of millions, even into billions of coins, there's bound to be a few mess ups, and that's the topic of today's video. Going back over the years, it's not like this has been something that just happened. We've ramped up production of coins recently, but maybe quality control was a little worse as you go back in time. So I think it'll just be super cool to think through some of these past auction results, and we're going to be focusing on some of the more valuable ones. So it's not like these are the 10 most expensive. I'm just saying top 10 sort of as a cool factor added in with the valuation of above $1,000. So sit back and enjoy a cool walk through the history of error half dollars. So today's first coin is going to be one that I just thought was like, that's a really cool looking coin. And it's an obverse die cap Kennedy half dollar from 1964. I think that for whatever reason there were a fair amount of interesting errors produced this year. And the die cap means that it's going to have stuck to the obverse die, and it gets used to strike a bunch more coins. Here the reverse has worn almost completely away, gone thin as a result, but the buildup of the multiple times that it has been used to strike other coins causes this die cap to kind of form around the coin, almost like a little cup, a little mini ring. And this one is a particularly strong example. Plus, it's got some funny, cool looking orange-brown toning, and it commanded $2,880 recently. So not something to laugh at either monetarily. Then we have this interesting obverse struck through coin. I just, maybe it's like cloth from a bag or something like that, or some linen. I find struck through errors pretty fascinating, especially when it's something pretty abnormal. And I think that it almost looks like tentacles. So just something cool. And I was like, hey, I got to put that in this presentation. Even though it didn't sell for a huge amount, there's plenty of errors that I left out that are more in terms of what they've sold for. But this was $1,000 and $80, so it barely snuck in. After that, we've got this reverse capped die, and I think it's cool to have it on the bicentennial. You can kind of see how the metal has formed here in an interesting way. It expands out in all directions, and then on the back of it, maybe it was ejected a little bit earlier, but you can see some of the obverse design. It would be interesting to see some of the coins. I guess maybe it would be, I don't know if it would be broad struck or what the term would be for the coins that were then struck with and that met basically this bicentennial half dollar. I assume that they would have the reverse imprint of the design, but this one, $2,280. Any error on like a smaller coin, I always think is interesting, like a limited run. So say it's a Susan B. Anthony or something like that, and the bicentennial I think helps this one's case. After that, we've got a double struck and indented coin. The 95% obverse indent, I'm a little unclear on. Maybe it's that, this was all indented here, as the result of something. I'm not exactly sure how this coin would have been produced, but I love how it's cracked as a result of the pressure and the expansion of the planchet. I always think, you've got a really serious error when the planchet is fully cracking, and then on this side, how it's expanded far beyond the rim. Maybe, it gets struck sharply twice on the United States of America. It almost looked like some part of a cap die, but I don't think that that's the case, at least certainly not according to the description. This one sold for $1,920. Then the next coin, we've got something that was just a standout as being weird, a split planchet fragment. So I guess one of these planchets kind of fell apart. So a little bit less than half of a single planchet made its way onto the to get struck, and this is the result. So certainly something a little bit different. And I'm a little unclear if this would have been struck along with the rest of like a broken planchet, or if this was struck totally on its own, because I would have thought that, maybe it would have been more deformed if just this fragment was struck, or if it came off kind of during the striking process and the planchet broke. Either way, $2,200, nothing to laugh at. Then we've got this one, which was pretty out there. I mean, it's part of a Franklin $50, struck on a 1948 Lincoln cent. You can see the outline of 1948 back there. And then over here, some trace elements of the reverse. You can see the 1 cent lettering over here, the E pluribus unum, the In God We Trust. Never really seen much like it. And this kind of gets more in the category of a pretty serious error. This one commanding $14,100 in 2016. After that, we've got this, I think I've shown it in a past video, but this one is a Proof 66 star double struck Kennedy $50. Again, planchet is cracking, so that's pretty significant. The double strike seems to be, well off center. It's not just sort of a little bit of a rotation in the collar or something like this. This is really expanding, and I'm surprised it made it out of the mint. Really like how the letters, when it's not properly retained, get distorted in this sort of an error, as is happening here. And this one was a $9,900 error in a recent July auction. Then we've got the transitional 1964 Kennedy $50 that was struck on a clad quarter. This one, I think it's special that it's 1964 Kennedy $50 clad, because, just that doesn't sit right. Not only is it struck on a quarter planchet, but I think it's extra special that it wasn't struck on a 64 that was also 90% silver, but instead made its way over to a clad, non-90% silver planchet as the quarters were transitioning over. Remember that 64 $50 that were silver were still being struck in 1965, but being backdated just because of the extra kind of piles of silver that had accumulated at the mint and needed to be used. This one was an $8,100 buy. Last, almost last, is this 1964 Kennedy $50 that has a ton going on with it. So it's double struck. That's pretty obvious. And the second strike is pretty well off center. That's clear, but there's also some brockage on the coin, and it's indented on the reverse. So you can see, I assume that this would have then got picked up and maybe struck by a different coin, leaving the reverse impression of the previous coin on the back of this coin. As you can see, it's sort of inverted here along the, it's been mirror flipped. So presumably from the imprint of another Kennedy $50 that it's being struck into, but not bonded to. Just so much going on. Big split in the planchet, and a $3,120 sale to wrap everything up. And then finally, we've got this 1943S Walking Liberty $50 struck on a Peru quarter or half sole planchet. We were, again, striking a bunch of coins for different countries. 1943 was especially hectic. A lot of different planchets going on. We were doing the steel and zinc penny. We were doing war nickels, and we were doing a lot of other countries' coins, and somehow the Peru half sole ended up getting imprinted with the Walking Liberty design, which is a great design in and of itself, but it's too small, it doesn't fit, it looks weird, and it sold for $21,200. So that's a great way to conclude today, and I really appreciate you watching. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel and connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have a website, treasuretownYT.com, where you should go so that you can learn more about coins as well as what's happening on the channel and possibly find a place to sell your coins and collectibles. I also want to talk about some of my other projects like coinmeltprice.com, which shows precious metals prices as well as the melt values of coins containing those precious metals, both US and world. I also have coinsmetalscards.com, which will develop into a full marketplace, as well as a news source for coins, metals, cards, as the name might suggest. And then treasuretowncoins.com, which long-term will be my coin dealing entity, separate from the channel. And lastly, whatsthegrade.com, which will be a stickering service for already certified collectibles where you can get a approval or verification of the grade on the holder. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.